The night was heavy with silence, and my heart felt just as still. 6 months into my marriage, and not once had my husband reached for me, not once had he whispered words of affection. I used to dream of a love that would make my heart race, but what I received was a life filled with unanswered questions and quiet loneliness. Friends would ask about my happiness, and I would lie with a smile, hiding the emptiness that grew larger with every passing day. That night, as I lay awake in our cold bed, the light under each office door flickered, tempting me with curiosity I could no longer ignore. I rose quietly, my bare feet brushing against the cold tiles as I walked toward the faint glow. My hand trembled when I reached the door, hesitating before turning the handle. A thousand fears swirled in my mind. Was he hiding another woman, a secret family, a double life? But nothing could prepare me for the truth I was about to witness. As the door creaked open, I held my breath, praying for something simple, something I could understand. Instead, what I saw struck me harder than any betrayal I could imagine. He sat at his desk, his back curved over a photo frame he clutched as if it were his feeling. Tears streamed down his face, silent yet endless, his shoulders shaking with the weight of grief he never shared with me. The picture was of a young woman, smiling brightly, a beauty I had never seen before. My chest tightened, my knees weakened, and I leaned against the wall for support. It was in that instant I realized that my husband, though born to me by vows, was chained to someone else by memories. My heart shattered quietly as I stood there, unseen, drowning in the pain of being a stranger in my own marriage. I wanted to run, to scream, to demand answers that my soul wasn't ready to hear. But something inside me kept me rooted, forcing me to listen to the sobs he had hidden so carefully for 6 months. His pain was raw, so much deeper than my loneliness, and I understood in a single breath that the woman in the photo was not alive. Her presence lingered in the shadows of our home, a ghost that had claimed every corner of his heart before I ever entered it. I sank to the floor, my tears joining his from afar, my body trembling with the cruel truth I was not unloved, I was unseen, overshadowed by the love he could never let go. The following morning, he woke with tired eyes, his face pale but calm past, as if the next breakdown had never happened. He looked at me, smiled faintly, and asked if I wanted tea. My throat burned with words I wanted to release, but fear sealed my lips. How could I confront him without shattering what little bond we had? Every interaction after that moment became heavier, filled with an invisible third presence between us. I wanted to hate him, but instead, I felt a strong mixture of pity and longing, as though my heart wanted to heal his, even if it meant breaking mine in the process. Days turned into weeks, and I watched him retreat deeper into his solitude. He spent hours in that office, shouting the word out, clinging to the fragments of a life that no longer existed. I couldn't compete with a memory, yet I couldn't give up on the vows I had made. Nights grew longer, and I cried silently into my pillow, begging the universe to show me a way to reach him. I had married not just a man, but a broken soul, and I was beginning to understand that my role in his life was not to replace what he lost, but perhaps to remind him of what still remained. One evening, unable to bear the distance any longer, I gathered my courage and walked into his office without knocking. He looked up, startled, his eyes red, his face wet with tears. The photo frame was there again, standing proudly on his desk like a shrine. I walked closer, my hands trembling, and asked softly, "Who is she?" He froze, his lips parting but no sound escaping. Finally, he whispered a name that carried both love and sorrow. She was my first love, my fiancée. She died in an accident just before we were supposed to be married. The words cut through the air like knives, and I felt my heart clench in sympathy. His pain was real, raw, and unhealed. He confessed that he had agreed to marry me under his parents' pressure, hoping it would help him move on, but he had failed to let go. His guilt consumed him, convincing him that loving me would be a betrayal to the woman he lost. I listened, tears streaming down my face, not in anger but in sorrow for the burden he carried. For the first time, The silence between us broke, replaced by truths that should have been shared long ago.
That night, we spoke until dawn.
He poured his heart out, confessing memories of laughter, dreams, and promises never fulfilled. I sat by his side, holding his hand, though I knew he was still miles away in his mind. My own pain felt insignificant compared to the weight of his grief. I realized then that I had a choice. I could walk away from this marriage, free myself from a love that wasn't mine, or I could stay and fight for a chance to be seen, not as her replacement, but as myself. My heart, foolish and hopeful, chose the latter.
I began to change my approach. Instead of waiting for his love, I tried to bring light into his world.
I cooked his favorite meals, shared small stories of my day, and invited him for walks under the evening sky.
At first, he resisted, which is hard to have to accept.
But slowly, I noticed small shifts: a faint smile, a soft choker, the way his lingered on me for a second longer than before. Healing wasn't instant, and I knew it never would be, but tiny cracks began to form in the walls he had built. One day, while cleaning his office, I picked up the photo frame. For the first time, he didn't snatch a tear away. Instead, he sighed and said, "She was my past. But you are my prisoner." My eyes filled with tears as I placed the photo back gently, whispering, "I don't want to erase her.
I just want to be part of your story too."
He looked at me then, truly looked at me, and in his gaze, I saw a flicker of something I had longed for: acceptance, and perhaps the beginning of love. Months passed, and the atmosphere of our home shifted. The once suffocating silence was replaced with laughter that echoed faintly but warmly. He began sharing moments of his day with me, asking about mine, even surprising me with flowers one evening. The ghost of his past still lingered, but I no longer held him hostage. He started to see me not as a stranger forced into his life, but as a companion walking alongside him through a grief and healing. Our marriage, once hollow, began to bloom with fragile but genuine connection. Yet, healing was not linear. There were nights he would still see her quietly, staring at that photo, and I would sit beside him, holding his hand to it or saying a word. There were days when I questioned if I was strong enough to live in the shadow of a love that wasn't mine.